As she said, my name is Zach Klonsinski. I am a assistant director in the Office of Undergraduate Admissions at the University of Notre Dame. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen very quickly. There we go, just so we can see that. Outstanding. You got a nice picture of Notre Dame there. I'll go ahead and fill you in on what Notre Dame looks like in just a second, but we also have a very special guest with us today, Mr. Filip Kubicki from Woost, if I remember correctly, if I'm saying that correctly. But Filip, you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Sure. So as Zach said, I'm Filip Kubicki. I'm from Łódź. I graduated from normal Polish high school. I'm currently a freshman at Notre Dame. I study finance. And yeah, welcome.
Yeah, outstanding. Thanks, Filip, for being here. And Filip's been great. He'll be able to kind of give you a great overview of what student life at Notre Dame looks like. It's been a little bit different this year as around the world, with kind of the resurgence of COVID, especially coming out now. And we hope you are all well. We hope you're all safe. We hope you and your families are doing great this time. But Notre Dame's actually been in person this year. We've been really excited to welcome our students back to our campus. I'll go ahead and kind of give you what this presentation will look like and kind of what the agenda will be. Whoops, I jumped right through the slide. There we go. All right, so this is our agenda. So we've done our little introduction of ourselves, myself and Filip. We're also going to run you through just a brief presentation about the University of Notre Dame. And then I also wanted to kind of give you a second small presentation about holistic application review. Notre Dame, we are a top 20 academic institution in the United States, along with many of our peer institutions, which are the Ivy Leagues like Harvard, Yale, Stanford. Then you also have like Chicago, Northwestern, Washington University in St. Louis, Duke. Those are all some of our peer institutions, and we all practice this thing called holistic application review. I'll walk you through what that looks like and kind of give you some tips of how to present your best application to schools like Notre Dame. Hopefully you all walk away loving Notre Dame and you want to maybe apply to us. But you also may look at other schools in the United States, and many of our peer institutions, those who are very similar to us, will use this holistic application review. And then after that time, I do want to save a good amount of time for questions and answers so that you can kind of get some of your questions answered, just as Natalia has said with her chat, to kind of go ahead and toss those in. Filip and I are happy to be resources for you and help you get to know what it's like to be at the University of Notre Dame and what we kind of stand for. So this is going to be about the University of Notre Dame, who we are, what we are as an institution, why the University of Notre Dame is a little bit different, and what we're trying to do here at the university. And I may ask Filip some questions throughout, so I'll thank for his patience as I just kind of randomly call on him here and there. But the important things to know about the University of Notre Dame is that we're located in South Bend, Indiana. It's about 90 miles east of Chicago. So many of our students from certainly around the world, but also even around the country, will actually fly into the major Chicago airports, and then there are direct buses from those airports to our campus. Filip, is that how you kind of got to campus, or how did you get to campus?
I was lucky to go with my dad, but I will be flying back home with, but just by myself, so I will take the bus. Yep.
Yeah, okay, but you flew in and out of Chicago?
Yes.
Outstanding. So we're very much kind of in the middle part of the United States. You'll see if you look on the map of the United States, there's kind of the Great Lakes, kind of in the north central part. That's about where you're going to find the University of Notre Dame. South Bend, Indiana has about 110,000 people. There's another 90,000 or so in our twin city of Mishawaka. They're basically right next to each other. You can't tell the difference. And then in the kind of surrounding area, there are some smaller suburbs who have about another 100,000. So there's a good about 300,000 to 400,000 people right in the South Bend area. We have your shopping, your urban sprawl, your malls. We have some great museums located around the city of South Bend. It is a college town, so you have kind of that typical American college experience. And then Chicago is very accessible from us if you do want to go into one of those major metropolitan areas. it's a great place for you to do that as well. So that's kind of where the University of Notre Dame is. Now, the university itself is very distinct. It has its very distinct college campus. It is, in many ways, its own little world. You could be on campus for 4 years and never kind of need anything, but we want you to get out. We want you to explore the South Bend community. We want you to explore the United States, whether through research, service, internships, and we want you to kind of explore the world as well. And I'll touch on that in a little bit too. Even though we are in South Bend, Indiana, we are a national and international brand as well. The important part about Notre Dame, though, that makes us a little bit different is that we are a Catholic institution. About 80% of our students do identify as Catholic. You do not have to be Catholic to go to Notre Dame. I myself am not Catholic, but we do want to make sure, that, oops, sorry, tried to mute someone and may have gotten the wrong button, my bad. But we want to make sure that you are able to come to Notre Dame and study what you want academically and challenge yourself, but also come to Notre Dame and be a part of our mission, where we also want you to grow spiritually and kind of as a person as well. And this dates back to our founder, Father Edward Sorin. You'll see this great quote from him on the bottom. He actually came over from France, St. Croix, France, to found the university in 1842. But just 1 week after arriving on our campus, he wrote in a letter back to his boss in France saying, "This college will be one of the most powerful means for doing good in this country." And that has become a part of the mission of the University of Notre Dame. It's what we strive to do. We do have a mission statement that you can kind of read and learn more about the university. But we are always trying to be a force for good in the world. And so, yes, you're going to be able to come to Notre Dame, study what you love. Yes, you're going to be able to have a great time, make a lot of great friends, and be a part of that great American college experience. But more importantly, Notre Dame's also going to challenge you of, how can I go out and use this education, use my talents, use my experiences to make the world a better place? And that's the core of the University of Notre Dame. We have a beautiful campus. There are 2 lakes on campus as well. You can see one in this photo. The building on the right is the Golden Dome. It's main building, but everyone just calls it the Golden Dome. That's actually gilded gold on the dome there, with a 22-foot high golden statue of Mary. And then the left side of this photo, you will see the Basilica of Sacred Heart. It is an active Catholic church right on our campus. But again, very picturesque, very beautiful campus as well. Philip, do you have anything about campus that you've really enjoyed so far?
Yeah, like if anyone here likes to run, I would say that running around the lakes is something very unique and special. And right now in fall, when the campus looks like in this picture, I would say it's an amazing experience to just explore the campus and the South Bend city, because it just looks beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the other distinctive pieces of Notre Dame, and this will be where I definitely lean on Philip a little bit to share about his experiences in the dorm, but actually Notre Dame is a very residential campus. We have 33 single-sex residence halls, meaning that there are all guys or all girls, but each hall has first-year students all the way through senior students. So typically in 4 years, you have first-year, sophomore, junior, and senior. They all live together. Each dorm has its own mascot, its own traditions, its own hall government. You can kind of play sports for your dorm against another dorm. And we do require students live on for 3 years, but about 40% of our seniors, our 4th years, our 5th years, even beyond, will choose to live on campus because they enjoy the community so much. We talk about this thing called the Notre Dame family. Notre Dame is a family. Not just when you're on campus, but beyond, as I'll touch on in a second. And one of the great ways we introduce you to this Notre Dame family is through the dorm system. So Philip, you want to share a little bit more about what your dorm is and kind of how it's played a role in your first year at Notre Dame?
Sure, I'm more than happy to. So I've never lived in dorm before, and I was scared, to be honest, before coming here. I didn't know what to expect, but I have to say that it was probably one of the best experiences here. because it allowed me to meet so many new people immediately. Like I came here and I already had 270 friends, which is the number of people that live in my dorm. It is very unique that here, when you're in a dorm, like everybody in this dorm is your friend already. So I was approached by many sophomores, juniors, or seniors who just wanted to meet me, and I felt very welcome. And my dorm is Dylan Hall. It was renovated this year. It's beautiful. I really enjoy it. I really enjoy it, to be honest. It's also very well located. I have like up to 7-8 minutes to any of my class, so I'm glad that I don't need to walk in winter very far.
Yeah, and Filip hinted at that. We're a very residential and very walking campus. There's no roads that go through it. You're not like in the middle of a downtown city where you have to try and dodge cars or miss cars as you're walking across the street. It is very, very walkable. Some students will bring bikes, scooters, absolutely. But walking from one side of campus to another, it's hard to find a walk that's longer than 15 minutes. So very walking campus. I think we had a question in our chat about, how's the bus system? Do you need a car? And Phil, if you want to share a little bit just about your first year experience, kind of not having a car and getting around.
Yeah, so I don't exactly know, Małgorzata, about which bus you ask, but if you're asking about buses from the Chicago airport to university, there is a bus, direct one. And there are some buses in South Bend, to be honest, like I've been to South Bend maybe once, like the city center. I only use bus to go to the University Park Mall, and we have a direct bus with just one stop from the university to the mall. It's for free for students. So like if you could, if this is what you ask for, then if this is something else, just ask me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So we do have 500 student clubs and organizations as well, so you can be very involved on campus. And like I said, Filip spent a whole year, and he's got the great bus right out to the mall, as well as the bus that does go into downtown in the other direction. But it is very much, you're going to be busy on our campus. We will help you find things to be involved with. And make sure that you feel like you are able to do things outside the classroom at Notre Dame as well. I did want to touch briefly on, again, this idea of the Notre Dame family, in that we are a family. We want you to feel like you are a part of a family, not just from the moment you step on campus and while you're at Notre Dame, but also for the rest of your life. We do have one of the United States' best on-time graduation rates. We're going to help advise you on whatever your chosen major and whatever your chosen career path is, and what you want to do after graduation. And we're also going to make sure that we help get you there. We do have the United States' largest center for career development. They help find internships, job opportunities, things of that nature that you are looking for as you're going through. And we do make sure that students are doing what they love once they graduate from Notre Dame as well. But it's this last number that I love to speak about, which is there are 270 Notre Dame alumni clubs worldwide. That is not just in the United States. I work very closely with the Notre Dame Club of Thailand, has been one that I've worked with in the past. I'm not as familiar with kind of what that looks like in Poland, but wherever you go after graduation, Notre Dame is still going to be with you. It is going to be a place that you can make connections, you can find internships, and if you're doing one job and you meet a lot of people through like a Notre Dame club or a Notre Dame experience, you're going to be able to kind of network into that other job as well. In the United States, for example, let's say you stay in the United States after graduation. There's actually, for example, in the Notre Dame Club of Denver, which is kind of in the state of Colorado, kind of the mountains there. The Notre Dame Club of Denver has 3,000 members that students will join with. They will host football game watches, which Filip and I haven't even touched on yet. Where they will host, Notre Dame dinners, Notre Dame nights, where you just come together and celebrate being at Notre Dame and being someone who is part of the Notre Dame family. And we really want to make sure that you feel, again, that you are part of this family for the rest of your life. One of the ways that we are going to do this is by, again, welcoming you into the kind of Notre Dame community. And Filip, can you touch briefly on what is the international community like at the University of Notre Dame?
Yes, so to be honest, like Polish community is not that big, but actually, I was surprised that there were just few people from Polish high school, but there were so many Polish people from like Chicago, New York, people who have Polish mother or father. So in reality, the Polish community is huge here. There are so many people who like never been to Poland, but they speak Polish because that's the language used by their parents. So it's very funny. I also have to say that for me at the beginning, it was easy to meet new people because some people had just Polish surname, and they were, when they've heard that I was from Poland, they were so happy to talk to me that yeah, it was very exciting. What more about international community? So if I know correctly, most of the international students are from Europe and South America. Am I right, Zach?
Sorry?
The most international students are from Europe and South America, right?
I would say so, yes, but we do have a good number from Asia as well, not just China, but a lot of Southeast Asia, good number from India as well. It's a truly international experience, but Central South America and Europe would probably be the largest.
Yep. So there's also a Polish club, which I'm involved in. Yeah, it's a great club. I don't know if there's anyone here in this meeting who is from a different country, but I guess there would be also, there's, I think, German club, French club. So if there isn't any club that you feel associated with, you can also create one.
Yeah, definitely.
I can interrupt for a moment.
Yep.
Can I? Could you please tell us more, Filip, how meetings of such a Polish club look like?
So right now, in the pandemic, it's not that easy, actually. We cannot have large gatherings, but even though, first of all, we are very lucky that we are open because most universities are online right now. We are in person. So it's I would say, great thing about Notre Dame that we can be here. We can be here together. And how the meetings look, it's always different. So from what I've heard, how it looked in previous years, so there were many events such as, I don't know, like selling pączki to other students, like doing pierogi together, or doing Polish Easter, Polish Christmas. So there are many ways to celebrate Polish culture. This year, there were few just like dinners, which we had together. We just met each other, talked to each other. Unfortunately, we were not able to cook anything because of the healthy standards right now. So yeah, but I believe that next year is gonna be all like it was before. So we will be able to cook pączki and everything.
Yeah, fingers crossed, and I hope so. I hope so, definitely. So, great question. Thank you. As I mentioned, Notre Dame is a Catholic institution. Every dorm, and actually almost every academic building, does have a chapel inside of it. If you are Catholic, there are about 160 daily masses on our campus each week. So absolutely, it's a great place for you to come. If you are Catholic, this is actually a photo of the grotto. It's a 1/7 size replica of the grotto in Lourdes, France, where Mary appeared to a young girl. And so faith is very much a part of the university. It is there for you to engage as much or as little as you would like, but as you can see, this is probably a prayer service of some sort, and many people will come and engage with their faith at Notre Dame because we want you to ask those big questions of, does God exist? What do I believe? What kind of person do I want to become? And how do I want to shape my morals and my ethics in the world? And Notre Dame is a great place for you to come and ask those questions because it's very just organic, and you're going to be in a community and a family of people who want to answer and ask these big questions right alongside with you. So some of my favorite memories as a student. I am a graduate of the university. Some of my favorite memories were having 2 or 3 a.m., 2 or 3 in the morning conversations with my friends in the dorm about some of these big topics of, about what I believed, about what they believed, how our views kind of got us to the same kind of vision of the world. And so it's a great place for you to come and ask those big questions there as well. And I'm happy to answer a little bit more about that. In Q&A. I do want to keep us moving though. As I did mention, we're an international university. You can absolutely study abroad. It'll typically happen during your junior or your 3rd year at Notre Dame. We do have about 50 programs around the world. We also have kind of some, not necessarily campuses, but Notre Dame kind of owned buildings, places like Beijing, Dublin. We're the only United States university to have a presence in Jerusalem. As well, London, Rome, really wherever you want to go in the world, and whatever major you're studying, we want to make sure that you feel like you can, get that global experience while you're at the university. So certainly, you'll be getting some global experience just by coming to Notre Dame from Poland, but at the same time, you can also, even get more additional global experience on top of that as well. So, Philip, I know as a first-year student, you probably don't have a whole lot to add on the global experience just yet, because that's not going to happen again for a couple of years. But if anyone does have further questions about what studying abroad looks like, we will be happy to answer those in the Q&A portion as well. So this will be the last little slide that I show you about Notre Dame, and then we'll transition really quickly into talking about holistic admissions and kind of give you some ideas of what that looks like. But this is a shot of our football stadium. So we play American football. College football is actually very, very kind of big in the United States. And this is not a shot from this year because obviously there's not much social distancing going on. But at the end of every football game, our team will come together and sing with the student section our alma mater, which is kind of like our school song. Just a great way to, again, celebrate that Notre Dame family, that Notre Dame community as well. And actually, on Saturday, this last Saturday, Notre Dame played Clemson University, who was the #1 ranked football team in the country. Notre Dame was ranked #4, so it was on in prime time all across the United States. It was a great game, and Notre Dame ended up winning in double overtime. And Philip, what happened then?
I don't know if I should say it, but at the end of the game when we won, everybody was so excited that all students ran into the field. It wasn't very respectful for healthy standards, but it was a great bonding, definitely, and we were so happy. I mean, the game was on Saturday. I'm still excited, even though it's Monday. It's a great end of the semester, I would say. It was an amazing game.
Yeah, and so athletics and college athletics are absolutely a part of your time at Notre Dame. That's another way that we're different from a lot of our peer institutions as well, is we play at the highest level of athletics. And I know it works a little bit different in the United States where there's a lot more college athletics and there's a big focus on that. But football, men's and women's basketball, men's ice hockey, lacrosse, soccer, our fencing team has won a couple national championships. And so that's also a big part of student life as well. And I know Philip was telling me before we got on, I think this was your first ever like college football game, or certainly your kind of first season of it. And you don't need to know what's going on. The fans will tell you and the other people will tell you, you just get to enjoy it. So it's a lot of fun. We had a great game. Now we just got to make sure that we can, keep it going for another. We do offer some sports scholarships. I see a question about that, and I also see a question about financial aid and scholarships, and we can talk about that in a second as well. But we do offer some sports scholarships. It is a high level. You are recruited kind of by coaches. I do not have any role in that process. You would need to kind of look at what sports you're interested in, maybe reach out to that coaching staff. And if you do have questions, you can reach out to me, and I can give you contact information for that. I do want to touch on financial aid briefly. We do have scholarships at Notre Dame. We use what is called need-based financial aid, though, for the most part. For international students, we do, like almost all of our peer institutions, have to be a little bit need aware, which was we do have to look at how much your family can pay, but we also do have a lot of financial aid available to international students that if we really want to bring you to campus, even if you cannot afford the full cost of attendance at Notre Dame, we're still going to try and give you, that financial aid package to help you and your family make it more affordable. It's a little bit of a complicated process, so I'm happy to kind of take emails about that and give you a little bit more detailed information. I don't want to do it quite in a PowerPoint just because it can be a little bit confusing, but I will share a link in here that kind of walks you to, or that takes you to a web page on our Office of Financial Aid website so you can learn a little bit more about what that looks like at Notre Dame. If you are a US citizen, I do want to also toss out that we do meet 100% of your demonstrated need, and we are need blind in the process. So if you are a dual citizen with the United States, international financial aid works a little bit differently for you. But for those students who are international, basically is we do have to be need aware, but we also have financial aid. If you are looking for merit scholarships at Notre Dame, which is what a lot of institutions in the United States will use, we do offer some merit scholarships. All you have to do to be eligible for them is apply to the University of Notre Dame. That is kind of your application for all of our merit scholarships as well. There's no additional applications or anything like that that you would also need to fill out. So, okay, let me stop sharing there. Thanks everyone for coming out today. Appreciate it. Let me hop back to my other PowerPoint because I want to walk you through very briefly what holistic application review is as well. And this is a little bit different. It's not just you get a score on a national exam and you have your grades and that determines where you're going or where you can go for school. In holistic application review, which again is at Notre Dame and many of our peer institutions, we look at everything on your application. And so what does that mean? What exactly is holistic review in the United States? Every part of the application matters. We want to see that, yes, you're going to be academically successful and we can, you're going to show that through your grades. But we're also going to see, is this someone who's going to be engaged in our community? Did they get engaged in their communities during their time in high school? Obviously, there's a little bit different focus between kind of what extracurriculars in the United States look like versus extracurriculars everywhere else around the world. Everywhere does things a little bit differently, but we want to know, is this person someone who gets engaged in their communities, whether it's school, whether it's their local community, maybe you have a lot of family responsibilities. Are you someone who's going to want to be in a very community, family-oriented atmosphere like Notre Dame? And then how are you going to use some of those education and the opportunities offered? We had $181 million for research last year. About 75% of our students will study abroad, which is top 10 in the United States. We have all these great resources for you, and we want to see that you would be someone who'd want to use them. So how do we do this? So we're certainly going to look at the rigor of your curriculum. We know the national curriculums in every kind of institute or in every country around the world are a little bit different, but we also understand that they're going to challenge you. And we know how to read that in our admissions office. We have a ton of experience, a lot of experience that will help us, understand the different national curriculums, as well as if your school is IB, International Baccalaureate, other programs like that. We want to see that you've been challenging yourself to the best of your capabilities. And sometimes you don't have a choice. You have to take preset classes. That's okay. We get that too. But we want to see that you're challenging yourself as much as you can. And then we want to look at, how did you do in those grades? How did you actually do in the classroom? What kind of grades did you get? It's really important to us that we see that you are someone who takes your academics seriously, because we're going to challenge you. When I talk to students in the United States from like where I kind of work with, I ask them, what is kind of the most challenging piece of Notre Dame? And they'll say, it's hard, it's rigorous, that we challenge you in the classroom. So we want to make sure that you're ready for that challenge. We will obviously consider the disruption of the pandemic, not just in your extracurriculars, but in your school performance. Many schools especially with cases on the rise everywhere. Many schools are online. We get that. And so we are going to take 2020 into context when looking at your application, whether you are currently applying to the university, whether you will be applying in the next year or two. We understand that this is going to be a little bit different, and we want you to know that we understand that as well. I would also say most schools are test optional, there we go. Are test optional, meaning you do not have to submit the SAT or ACT. Notre Dame was actually test flexible before, and so let's say you had an IB curriculum, you actually didn't have to necessarily take the ACT or SAT, but most schools in the United States for this year are test optional. It is for many schools just for this year. It will be interesting to see, and I do not know yet what it'll look like next year. So please reach out to schools with questions if you have them about what kind of testing they may require. So again, the holistic application means there's no scores that, if you get below this, you cannot be competitive, anything like that. We know, again, that the Polish national curriculum is not designed to teach to the American ACT or SAT. We know that. And so it is not going to be, we're not expecting you to score maybe in the same way that we are expecting students in the United States to score. And so we get that as well. And then extracurricular activities that might be blurred out across the top there. I can't tell from my screen, but extracurricular activities is anything you're doing outside the classroom, that getting involved in your community. Can be sports, can be clubs, can be service. It could be that you have, again, family responsibilities at home. We want to see that on your application, as well as any leadership or initiative that you've demonstrated, how you've made change in your community. Any talents or special passions that you have as well. Again, we understand that 2020 is going to be a little bit different in how these extracurriculars look, just based on the opportunities provided to you. So on your applications, you'll actually be able to share, how has 2020 affected me and my academic kind of career and my extracurricular activities as well. So anything, again, outside of the classroom. I gotta hide this real quick. There we go. Letters of recommendation. This is going to come from a teacher who knows you well, and it's just to help us get to know you again in the classroom, kind of help us understand how is this student taking advantage of what's available at their high school and in their context. So we do offer an optional, we call it a counselor letter of recommendation. In the United States and some international schools, you will have like a college counselor. For students who are in national curriculums around the world, I would say this is probably just someone who is a school official who can make sure that we kind of don't miss something about your experience, that we know how your experience has been. And so, again, I'm happy to answer more questions about those, which I will provide you my email here in just a second. And the last thing is, United States institutions are going to have you write essays. You are going to be able to kind of share your experience with us. And these are, as every admissions counselor, admissions staff member at universities will tell you, these are our favorite pieces of your application, because we get to know you, we get to see what your passions and your talents are. And it's really the only time on your application that, even though you're submitting all of these materials, the statements, the personal statements and the essays are essentially your only time to tell us about you in your own voice. And so it's a really great way for you to kind of help us get to know you as a person, as an applicant on your application. And we really want to see, who is this person applying to the University of Notre Dame? What are they passionate about? What's important to them? I should mention, to apply to the University of Notre Dame, most students will use the common application. You can actually use that to apply to many of our peer institutions or similar institutions as well. And so this will all be done usually through the common application, although there is also another application called the coalition application that is very similar. So those two main ways to apply to the University of Notre Dame, as well as many schools like Notre Dame in the United States. And there we go. That's holistic application review. I will share a couple links with you as well, just to kind of give you some more information. That is my email though. It comes directly to me. Please feel free to note it down. Send me an email if you have questions. It is a busy time of year, so I appreciate your patience with my response, but I will try and get back to you as soon as I can. So please, please, please do use that email. If you have any questions, I am here to help you and be a resource for you. Stop my screen share really quick. We've got some questions in the chat. Outstanding, outstanding. Before I get rolling, Natalia, anything that you want me to hit on for students, or Philip, anything that you think that I've missed as well?
I think it would be very interesting for the students if, Philip, you could tell us how your typical day at the university looks like.
So it's a pretty hard question because I don't think that any day will repeat here. I have my schedule, obviously, so my classes are at the same time each day, but every day here is different, I would say. I can tell you about like my, let's say, average day. So most of my classes start at 9 or 11. So if they start at 9, I just wake up, eat breakfast, go to the class. If they start at 11, I would probably eat breakfast, study for a little bit, and I will go to the class. Then I will probably, it's a hard question to be honest. Like every day here is different. I don't know how to answer it. I mean, here are so many things to do. I take part in many clubs, and I have to say that there are more clubs than I have time to spend. So it's really hard to engage in everything because there are so many opportunities. But yeah, most of my day is about classes. In the evening or afternoon, I have a club meeting. Like I take part in Wall Street Club or Corporate Finance Club. And there are also some like Polish club. So if there's a Polish club, it's more, it's less about education, more about like having fun and meeting new people. Yeah, I mean, is there anything particular that you want to know? Because as I said, like every day is different. So
the studies in the US looks, I would say, completely different compared to studies in Poland. So I'm not sure how familiar are you with how the studies in Poland looks like, but if you could like maybe compare to help the students understand what they can expect if they decide to study in the States.
So first of all, what I love here is that the whole system is based on just picking the subjects that will fulfill my major requirements, which is great because in Poland, you just have a schedule that is fixed and you have so many classes each day. And it's really, I would say maybe boring because you cannot change these classes. However, here, it's me who pick the class. So I can pick the classes that are interesting to me. Also, I can make my schedule look like I wish that it look. For example, some people want to have most of the classes in the morning and then have the whole afternoon in the evening free. I have scheduled that is totally different. I have one class in the morning, one in the middle of the day, and one in the evening, which is great for me because I can prepare just before the class. So it's great. And the difference between Polish system and US and American one, I would say, is that in Poland there's not that many, not much time to study just by yourself. You just go to the class and then you take the exam. Here, yeah, you have much more time to study by yourself, to use the resources provided by the university. Also, professors have something called office hours, which is just that they are available to meet with students. which is really helpful because if you don't understand something from the class, you can meet with the professor and discuss it. If you want to expand your knowledge beyond what is in a class, you can also go talk to the professor. So yeah, in my opinion, American system is much better than Polish. I really enjoy it, to be honest.
Right now, do you have all of your classes in person, or do you have like mixed schedule?
I have all of my classes in person.
In person.
So
that's
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if I'm in quarantine, let's say every class is recorded or streamed by the professor. So like I cannot miss any class because I can always watch it online. So
oh,
yeah.
That's great. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. And I'm just grabbing links for everyone so you can find more information about the university. One last one. And then I had some questions about English proficiency exams, and I'll talk about that in a second. But there's our question. So English proficiency, we do require students demonstrate English proficiency in kind of the, if English is not your first language. And so on that website that I just shared, you'll kind of see how we can look at English proficiency exams kind of this year and the variety that they have. If you get certain scores on an SAT or ACT, if you take it, you can kind of waive that requirement because you've already proven that you have your kind of English proficiency. However, because we're test optional as well as kind of test flexible, you don't have to take SAT or ACT. So there's a couple other ways that you can go about kind of proving your English proficiency. We take a TOEFL. It is important to note we do not accept the kind of at-home TOEFL. You do need to go the kind of the in-person TOEFL, which in the TOEFL score we encourage is a 100 or higher. We also accept IELTS, IELTS, which is a 7.5 or higher, and these are just recommended scores. So if you're close, you might be able to be there as well. We also do accept the Duolingo at-home English test. So if you're looking for an at-home English proficiency exam, the Duolingo one would be that one that I would recommend. We're recommending 120 or higher on that, but if you're close, we'll get there. And then we also accept PTE Academic, which not many people have heard of, but we also accept PTE Academic of a 70 or higher as well. And that is actually, again, on that link that I just shared. You can scroll down under the kind of section of test scores, and it will tell you about kind of not only test optional, but also about how to kind of demonstrate your English proficiency at Notre Dame. So, and if you absolutely cannot take anything else for whatever reason, please feel free to reach out to us. We do have an email kind of listed there for international@nd.edu to help kind of focus some of those specific questions for you.
Right. We do have a question about being a transfer student. Maybe could you tell the students how would you consider a student to be a transfer student?
Yeah, so a transfer student at Notre Dame means you have been at a four-year institution for about at least a year, and you have the equivalent of 27 or more college credits at Notre Dame. If you have more than 60, though, that's when we say you're not really a transfer student anymore. You've already kind of done too much of your education. But typically, after 1 year of your collegiate education, you would still be able to transfer to the University of Notre Dame. And there is no financial aid available to transfer students. I want to be very clear about that up front as well. And so, but if you're looking to transfer, I am on the transfer team, and I am happy to kind of be a resource for you, as Emma two's asking that question. Yeah, so feel free to shoot me an email with more. It's also hard to say just because every situation is a little bit different, and I'd need a little bit more background before I'd say for sure that you're a transfer student versus being a first-year student. So feel free to email me. And just so that people have it again, I will go ahead and toss my email in the chat again as well. Philip, Suzanne is asking, do you have any free days of the week, for sightseeing or traveling kind of around the United States? And I kind of want to, I'll let you take this one first, and then I'll fill in kind of what a more typical year at Notre Dame will look like too.
Yeah, so right now in the middle of pandemic, probably it's hard to fly anywhere right now, but I have free weekends, definitely. So I don't know how it looks normally, but I've heard that Mendoza students, which is a business school, they don't have classes on Friday. So probably next year I will have no classes on Friday, so I will have 3-day weekend, which is great. Yeah, but during the week, I mean, even though there is a lot of work, I wouldn't say it's overwhelming. It's if you study what you like or even love, then there's no problem with having a lot of classes and a lot of work. I study what I love, so I never complain about the amount of work, to be honest.
Yeah. And then during a typical year, Notre Dame's kind of academic calendar, during the fall semester and the spring semester, right in the middle of them, we have a week-long break. So we have fall break and spring break where you just get classes off for the week. There's no homework or anything. And so a lot of students will then use that opportunity to go around the United States and sightsee there. We also have a 3 to 4 week kind of holiday break, kind of around the Christmas time. Or around the holiday season, that some students will stay in the United States, some students will go home, some families will come to the United States and do some traveling with parents there. I've seen that in our international student population before. And so there is plenty of time for you to kind of get out and experience with others. As I mentioned, Chicago, a great metropolitan city, is very easy to get to from South Bend. There is the South Bend International Airport. It is pretty small, but directly from that airport, there's a train from the South Bend Airport to downtown Chicago. I think it's like $13 one way. So it can be very accessible for you to do a weekend in Chicago and get some of that great experience. We also do have a place close to campus called the Indiana Dunes National Park. It is actually the newest national park in the country. It's right on the shore of Lake Michigan, which is the massive lake that we're very close to. It's about a half-hour to 45-minute drive from campus. And as I mentioned, you're going to be living in a dorm. So even as a first-year student or a second-year student or an international student, even if you don't have a car, you're going to make a lot of friends with people who do. There's going to be juniors and seniors in your dorm who, if you need to go anywhere, that they will say, yeah, like I'll help organize a trip to the grocery store, or I'll help organize a trip to the Indiana Dunes National Park. And so there's a lot of really great ways for you to still get out and experience some of the United States, as well as, get the great education at the University of Notre Dame as well. All right. Have I missed any questions? This chat, it has been great. Thanks everyone for sending all of these in. I do want to make sure that we make this as useful as possible for you though.
There's a question. Oh yeah, sorry. Go ahead. This is the question I was gonna to read to you.
Yeah, can I complete the undergraduate degree faster than in 4 years? It is possible at Notre Dame. I would say most students, even if they can, they don't want to. You certainly can try and get maybe 3 years if you take your classes right, but Notre Dame is built for 4 years. Now, at the same time, we're also going to make sure that we help you graduate in 4 years and you're not taking a 5th year or a 6th year. Part of that is due to the great first-year advising system we have at Notre Dame, as well as other advisors that you'll receive in your college or in your major. But most students are going to take 4 years. You're not necessarily going to come to Notre Dame as a sophomore in terms of credits. You'll start as a first-year student. And then even though some students will want to kind of or be able to graduate early, instead they might just take fewer classes, which can lower your costs, but stay enrolled for that last semester, because that's just kind of what everyone at Notre Dame is doing, and they want to be with their friends and enjoy kind of the last piece of their college experience as well. So you can, most students don't. So Philip, I touched on something very interesting there about the first year experience at Notre Dame. Can you share a little bit about kind of what your first year advisor has helped you with this year?
Yeah, so I don't know if there are advisors in Polish universities. I think not. So it's very unique to American system, and my experience so far was great. Before I started my freshman year, the advisor contacted me. We talked by Zoom about my future plans, what I want to study. He was super friendly. And like overall, he helps with my schedule. He helps me to choose the right classes for me. He advises me on my major. But last week, right now I'm looking for internship this summer, and I just contacted my advisor about some small thing about my GPA to ask him about something, and he actually asked me to send him the application for this internship. He just looked through it. He advised me how to write my resume, which is CV. He advised me what to say, what not to say. So advisors at Notre Dame are more than helpful. They just don't help with the schedule. They help with everything besides it. So they're like mentors, maybe. They are definitely great source of help.
Yeah, and because as we've talked about, you have a lot of academic flexibility at Notre Dame. You can study, you can be in a major that you want to be in, but then you can also take another major in something that's not related to what you want to do after graduation, but just because you love it. And so because of all that flexibility and nothing really being kind of prescribed for you or told to you about what you have to do, those advisors are a great help to help you learn kind of what classes should I be looking for? What interests do I have? What other opportunities can I kind of use at Notre Dame to expand, my interests and my passions? And so your advisor is going to be a great help for you. And as Filip said, you actually start in the first year of studies or under the first year advising at Notre Dame. And so you are given a dedicated first year advisor. They will help you build your schedule before you even come to the United States. We also do have a really great office that will help you with visas, will help you with all kind of the international, kind of the other hurdles that come with being an international student that you just got to make sure you get your paperwork in for. We're going to help you with that. And so that is one of the reasons that I consider Notre Dame one of the most supportive environments you will ever be a part of. People are going to go out of their way to help you. As Filip was just mentioning, his first year advisor is there to help him kind of pick classes, figure out academic things. But he's like, hey, let me help you also write your resume. Let me help you in any other way that I can as well. And that's what people at Notre Dame are going to do for you. And that's part of the reason I think Notre Dame is certainly one of my favorite places in the world, one of the most special places. But also why it's such a strong university and why it has such a great reputation, not just in the United States, but around the world as well. And so we want to make sure that you feel like you are supported, that you are in a place that is going to help you thrive for the next 4 years. So I realize we are starting to run close on time. I am very cognizant of that, given all of the Zooming and digital world that we are living in during COVID. And so I want to be there. Is there anything, Natalia or Filip, any last thoughts that you wanted to share with students or anything that we could touch on for them?
Maybe we can give the students a minute or two to ask the last questions, just in case they have any more questions.
And so while they're doing that, Filip, why did you choose Notre Dame?
Oh, that's a very good question.
So I knew that I want to study business. That I was almost sure that it will never change, and it's true. So I was looking through the best business schools in US. I know that business school at Notre Dame is probably it's definitely top 5, but in some years it's the best one in US. So it's excellent university. And when I got my decisions, I had a hard time choosing the right university for me. And then I learned something very unique about Notre Dame, that the business school here will not only teach me how to be effective in business, how to understand many complex concepts in business world, but it will also build my character and will also help me how to, as is this the motto of the university, will will teach me how to make the world a better place through my business endeavors. So it's very unique that we are here not only taught how to be good in business, but also how to be good as a people and how to impact our community through our decisions. So that's why I decided to come here, because I always wanted to also do some good things in my life by doing what I like, which is doing business. So yeah, I can give you example of my classes so far. For example, I have accountancy class, and in accountancy, most decisions are very, let's say some people would say that some transactions can be recorded in so many different ways. So we are taught by our professor how to always be ethical with these decisions, not to scam anyone. So I really enjoy that. We are also taught how to be ethical in our decisions. We have something called judgment case, which is that we are presented with the case of some business, and we must decide whether the decision of these business people were ethical or not, whether they should change their behavior or if they done everything correctly. So it's really great. I would say it's a very unique place to be, and yeah.
That's a great motivation. Could you tell us how early you started your preparations? Which grade were you in?
For applying to the US?
Yeah.
I think I started like in the summer between my 11th and 12th grade, which is between the second and third grade of high school, the old high school system, which had only 3 grades.
And
so 1 year before applying or graduation. Yeah.
Was your Polish high school familiar with the process, or was it
Not at all.
No, you had to work with them to
exactly.
Explain a lot how to prepare the documents.
Exactly. So
okay, and
to everyone watching it who is in standard Polish high school, don't be afraid. It's gonna be all right.
So Zach, maybe you could elaborate a little bit. How do you look at those documents if you know that they come from a school that's not very familiar with the US system? And this is something students asks us a lot, that they worry about their chances because their Polish high school doesn't know how to, for example, prepare a transcript.
Mm-hmm. And we see that all the time. I would say the first thing that you should do is reach out to us for any questions that you have, because we're going to be here to help you. I think it's a little bit different in the United States, where the admissions office is also here to help you figure out the process and how to, what documents we need and how to present them. And so it will take a little bit of, especially for schools that aren't as familiar, it might take you, being a little bit more proactive and kind of explaining to them how things will work, or asking us to explain to them how things will work. But you're also gonna have some great resources like Education USA that you can ask and kind of get some questions, and they'll have, some great ways to also help your school if they have questions. But really, we want to make sure that you feel like you have support throughout the process. We want to make sure that you feel like you're not trying to have to do this alone. And so that's why we're here to be a resource for you. We also understand that, the national curriculums, and not just Polish schools, but all across the world, are very different in terms of, their kind of postgraduate or collegiate expectations. And so we get that. We're going to help you. We're going to advise you. And we'll need a little bit of help from your end, just because we'll probably need some documents that your teachers might not be used to. But if that's ever the case, you can always reach out to us, get a good explanation from us, and then be able to take that to your school, to your teachers, to be able to, you know, give them guidance on how they need to fill out some of those documents as well. So